Hey everyone, welcome to Pokemon Invasive Species, the series where we run Hoenn mons in Kanto and Kanto mons in Hoenn. In our previous episode, Kecleon had quite the journey through Kanto, and it turns out that Kecleon is not alone in the changing type gimmick. The counterpart I selected for Kecleon, Porygon, has some real promise, and before we continue, just a quick rundown of the rules. Only Porygon in battle, only held items are allowed in battle, we run on max IVs, and I select the nature, ability if applicable, as well as the hidden power. Usually we add a single egg move into the mix, but since Porygon doesn't have access to egg moves, we'll get to that in a sec. You can also see a detailed outline of the rules in the description below. Now, let's start with the base stat total. Well, just like Porygon, we're working with a 40 base speed, so that was a good choice there already. We don't excel in any one area, but the stats are alright for the most part, with a focus and special attack. With that as our highest stat, we can take advantage of the bulk of Porygon's moves. Now, speaking of which, with Psybeam at 12, we've got a solid move for Roxanne, always nice to have. Sharpen's going to be pretty great too. That move increases our physical attack by 1 stage, so it's mechanically identical to the move Meditate. Conversion 1 and 2 are pretty interesting little techniques. Conversion 1 turns Porygon into the type of the move it was hit with, so it's color change as a move instead of an ability. Conversion 2 turns Porygon into a type that either resists that of the target or is immune to it. I think that Conversion 2 is the better option for us, since we can usually become resistant to our target's best moves. Just like Kecleon, Porygon has pretty good type coverage through its list of available TMs. This list isn't as vast as Kecleon's, but we still got a whole bunch of great moves, pretty much everything we want. Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, Psychic, Shadow Ball, all very solid options. It's always great to have type coverage as good as this because it makes narrowing down what we should pick for our hidden power a little bit easier. I'm thinking Ground type because it has good synergy with Sharpen. As mentioned before, Porygon does not gain access to egg moves because it cannot breed. So, just like in Beedrill's run, we're going to pick from the Fire Red move tutor list, and here's what we have to choose from. While I do kinda like Double Edge because we would get the same type attack bonus for it, having Substitute right out of the gate is going to help Porygon immensely, though it may not seem evident at first. But trust me, there's one early game battle that's going to be so much easier with this move. And we also have a great tool to block Sand Attack from Mightyena during the mandatory Maxi battles. And if we keep it all the way to the league, same applies for both Sydney and Phoebe, both whom really love spamming stuff like Swagger, Confuse Ray, and Attract. Since we have a good early game special move to deal with Roxanne, it won't take too much time to get to her, so let's cut straight to Restboro City. The strategy for Roxanne is simple. Use Conversion 2 in order to become a type that resists Rock. We can potentially become Steel, Fighting, or Ground. Steel I would like, because not only would we resist Geodude and Nosepass's rock moves, but we would resist Tackle as well. Part B of our strategy is just spam Psybeam and hope that we don't get crit, but the linchpin to our success in this fight is Conversion 2. Conversion 2 ends up changing us into Fighting types, so that's not too bad. Because unlike Brock, who will only use Rock Tomb on Onix if he knows he can take you out, or if he's trying to make you slower, Roxanne is not shy about using same type attack bonus moves on you. So although this fight is simple, it's pretty fun to watch Conversion 2 in action because, yeah, Psybeam's pretty great. Although Nosepass has pretty decent special defense, it's good for this point in the game, certainly. But being able to resist their best attacks is just really nice. We're not exactly tanky ourselves, so the extra protection really helps. And I will say that Roxanne being easy as a normal type is a very nice change of pace. Alright, let's go on to the fighting gym, shall we? Now, because we have Psybeam, I don't think we're gonna need to set up anything like Conversion for this fight. Still, though, we gotta be careful. Or we would, except Machop sets up Bulk Up, so that's gonna be a free elimination. Plus, Brawly uses his Super Potion. We actually don't want to crit here, because that way he'll use his second one, and Eureka, there we go. He can no longer heal us Pokemon, so we should be in the clear. If we used Conversion 2 and became Psychic type, that would have been a one-shot, but c'est la vie. Unsurprisingly, Makahita survives. It's got a lot of health. It goes for Arm Thrust. That's 1, 2, a critical hit, only 3 hits, well, it's good that it stopped there because we could have lost that fight thanks to that crit. But we didn't. Solid first try. As we make our way to the Cycling Road rival, let's take a moment to talk about our ability. Porygon's only ability in Generation 3 is Trace. The Trace copies the ability of the Pokemon you're currently facing, so for us that's going to be the ability of the first Pokemon we fight in every battle. Hey, I never know when that could come in handy. Well, it's not gonna come in too handy here because we copy Water Veil. We tank a water gun from Whalmer, and on the second turn we go for Side Beam, and Brendan decides that Splash is the best move. Very nice. Now, I chose Combustion for type effectiveness against us, but we have Side Beam, and surprisingly we one-shotted. I didn't think that we would. And because we're behind a substitute, when the Shroomsh goes for Stun Spore, it's not going to work, so that gives us a free kill. So, you remember how I said that Substitute is going to give us a super easy fight against someone who's usually pretty annoying? Well, let's get ready to battle Watson. We just set up against Magnemite. It's going to keep going for Thunder Wave, so we basically have a free kill here. This fight's not free, however, because Voltorb does not have Thunder Wave, so we actually have to worry about that one. Watson cycles through his Super Potions. Voltorb destroys our Substitute. We'll take it out. And we're pretty much good to go because Magneton has Substitute and we are faster, so just like Magnemite before, it's going to keep spamming it because Gen 3 loves status. Generation 3 in status is like the Pokemon or AI whatever equivalent of reading a Stephen King book and being surprised that it takes place in Maine. With King, you know what you get. With Generation 3, you know what you get. And our streak is not stopping anytime soon because Mightyena is next, and while we will get hit by Intimidate, that thing absolutely loves spamming Sand Attack, so we can set up Substitute, and even Bite doesn't do that much damage. We're going to set up some Sharpens to power up our Secret Power. After we get a few set up and eliminate the Mightyena, we're at 52 health, and we should be good for the rest of the fight. I decide to set up another Sharpen. Golbat is faster, destroys our Substitute with Wing Attack, but it's too little too late. Both of Maxie's Pokemon have been eliminated. And now against Flannery, I was expecting Substitute to just tank Overheat till the special attack dropped, but for some reason, she really likes going for Smog while we're setting up Sharpen. Hey, you do you, honey. She does go for Overheat, destroys our Substitute, so we'll set up another one. And she keeps inexplicably going for Smog, sets up Sunny Day. By the time that she sets that up, we're done with Sharpen, Secret Power at max power, let's go. The real question is, do we actually one-shot the Torkoal? Yes we do. Very good. Hey, so remember how Trace copies the ability of the Pokemon you send out against it? For us, that is always the first Pokemon a trainer sends out, and how Norman's the next major fight. Oh, and it's a very fast Pokemon. This is a problem I didn't even think about because I'm so used to Slacking just going for Yawn. We have a Chesto Berry. We get a free turn to set up because of Truant. So now our Cyber protagonist also gets to indulge in a bit of loafing around as we get slapped around during these attempts here. Not only that, but Norman, interestingly enough, decides to send out the second Slacking should we take down the first one, so it's just a stronger version of the first one, but with a different bit of a moveset. Well, at the time we encountered Norman, we were still sub 3 hours at 2 hours and 56 minutes, but, yeah, that's gonna get broken, so we're gonna have to go do some serious training. I do have some rare candies as well. We'll go pick up some along the way that we missed. And it's unfortunate, but it just goes to show that although our egg move, or tutor move in this case, might be great, our ability, well, when we only have one to pick from, this sometimes happens. I do learn from the failed attempts, as well as the failed attempts upon us coming back and leveling up a fair bit, that the best thing to do is set up Substitute on turn 1. After a wasted turn, we go for Sharpen, and turns out that leveling up actually helped out quite a bit because we can tank Facade. With the Substitute broken, Slacking will go for Yawn, so we set it up, and Yawn is blocked, that's good. And after we're done both loafing around, we'll set up another Sharpen, we tank Facade again, thankfully no critical hit. Then we'll go for Return and take out the Slacking. As we're loafing around, Slacking 2 destroys our Substitute, and we almost one-shot it. Norman will use a Hyper Potion here, but check out this damage. I'm not sure if that was a favorable or unfavorable damage range, but I'm very happy to see it. We tank Vigoroth, Slash, and have 5 out of 8 badges. And you know, maybe it's just me, this could just be in my head, but I feel like Ruby Sapphire actually interacts with Substitute a lot better than Fire Red, Leaf Green, or Emerald. Isn't that weird? Like, Mightyena was attacking us with Bite behind a Substitute, even though it should prefer Sand Attack. Slacking, same thing. Who would have thought that the first games of a generation actually have better AI programming than the ones that came after? That's quite surprising considering how broken Ruby and Sapphire already are. Now, as we get ready to battle Winona, she leads off with Swellow, and Swellow has guts. Not gonna get any use out of it, but that would have been kinda cool if we did. Anyway, easy one-shot. She chooses to send out Pelip, our next interesting choice, but perfect for us. That's the perfect Pokemon out of her team for us to set up on. It only has Water Gun as an attacking move, so yeah, I think we'll be alright. Skarmory is a one-shot with Thunderbolt, and Altaria is a one-shot with Return. Now, as we get ready to battle Tate and Liza, we have to go to Mount Pyre anyway, but Porygon can learn Shadow Ball, so we're going to take that. It's a small bit of a time sink, but hey, we're going to need that to make this battle a lot easier. Now, Substitute will be useful in this fight as well because of Hypnosis, but since there's two of them, it's kind of unreliable to rely on as a strategy for this fight. In case in point, our sub already broke. I actually didn't teach Shadow Ball for this fight either, as you can see on screen. I just wanted to test how much damage Return would deal, just in case we can deal enough despite type resistance, but that was not the play. And you can see we're at 4 hours, 35 minutes, real time sync thanks to slacking. We're not going to catch Kecleon's time, but we might still be able to beat the game at a much lower level. Turn 1, I go for Sharp, and Tailloa gets taken out, and we take a bit of damage off a Psychic. The Shadow Ball almost one-shots Lunatone, but the Chesto Berry wakes us up as Solrock sets up Sunny Day. We tank Psychic from Solrock as Lunatone gets healed. We set up Sharpen, now we one-shot Lunatone. As for the damage we deal to Solrock, well, we one-shot it with a critical hit, so that was nice. Next up is the last required Maxi battle, and you guys know the strategy here. Set up Substitute, we're gonna block Swagger and Scary Face from Mightyena. This will also be useful for blocking a hit from Crobat, should it decide not to use Confuse Ray. Well, Mightyena is most sporting letting us set up here, and yeah, Crobat going for Wing Attack breaks our Substitute, but too little too late. We outspeed Camera up too, so it's good night, Irene. Ain't no one sticking around long after a finisher like that. Right, Wallace? And I don't bother with Substitute here for two reasons. First off, Whiscash loves Amnesia. Number 2, we traced Swift Swim. If we don't one-shot Seaking, we'll also be sped up by Rain Dance. Well, that turns out to be a moot point, but you know, gotta plan for our ability. My low tick is faster, but doesn't matter. So we're just gonna talk over Wally here. I gotta say that Porygon has done a lot better than expected, and I bet you guys saw Substitute and were like, it's gonna be Substitute the entire run. Nah, I've been trying to make the fights a bit more interesting, like the Wallace fight. I didn't figure we needed Substitute, but I am kind of impressed that both Porygon and Kecleon had really good main games before going to the league. However, because Porygon is also slow, I anticipate several problems, so we're gonna go run a few errands real quick. The usual stuff we do. I don't think we'll need Shell Bell this time like we did for Beedrill. Alright, for you guys, that was real quick. For me, it didn't take too long. Let's check in our time here. 5 hours, 39 minutes. We might be able to sub 6 hours with Porygon here. Now, Sydney, as you know, leads off with Mightyena. Loves going for Sand Attack on turn 1, but watch this. We set up a single Sharpen, and he goes for Crunch. That's what I was saying about being able to interact with the Substitute. It does use Sand Attack again, but here with Crunch, our Substitute is destroyed. I decide to forego setting up, and turns out, well, Cacturn's a one-shot, so this is looking good. I did not count on Sharpedo being faster and obliterating us with a combo of Swagger, us hitting ourselves, and Surf. So we just try again. The solution here is to have Substitute up while we fight Sharpedo. Mightyena takes down our Substitute, we set up another one, and there's another Sand Attack. Yeah, like, I'm pretty sure I'm right about that. This actually happens a fair bit during this run. Anyways, speaking of broken dolls, Substitute, whatever you want to call it, Cacturn goes down, Sharpedo outspeeds, breaks ours, but we one-shot it. Rough Skin damages us a little bit. Shiftry hits us with Fake Out, but doesn't matter. One shot, down goes Sydney. Now, Phoebe's about to get a taste of her own medicine, because we're about to copy Pressure thanks to Trace. Because, as she leads with Dusclops, we stop Substitute, she goes for Confuse Ray. Now, Pressure causes any move to cost 2 power points instead of 1. So we don't even finish setting up Sharpen before she starts going for Curse, which won't affect us because we are behind a Substitute. And despite our setup and a misclick, we go for Hidden Power Ground. Still not enough to one-shot Dusclops. That actually could be pretty bad. Well, so far it's looking pretty good, and thanks to that critical hit, Dusclops 2 goes down. We definitely needed that if we could not one-shot the first Dusclops. Next up is Glacia, and turns out that Glalie outspeeds us. Oh, this is gonna be a bit of a problem. We tank Ice Beam, but with one Sharpen, we still can't one-shot it. Glacia goes to heal, we set up Sharpen number 2, goes for Ice Beam, and we are frozen, so we didn't even make it past the first Pokemon. Oh, I didn't see this coming. I always forget that Glalie is kinda fast. It is a base 80 speed. And try as though I might, Glacia is just a bit too much for us right now. You know, it's kind of interesting. I knew that Kecleon and Porygon would be good pairs for one another, but right down to struggling hard against the third Elite Four member, I'm pretty proud of that matchup. Hey, you gotta look on the bright side when you're getting dunked on by a trainer that you normally kinda take for granted, and by you, I mean I do, because Glacia and Ruby Sapphire, not very good. So if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna bump in all of our rare candies, that way we can actually be faster than Glalie. The strategy is set up, sharpen, and hope for the best. Substitute, I think, is kind of a moot point here because they deal so much damage to us that it would break after one hit. Plus, they have no status moves to exploit. Wall Rain being a two-shot did not surprise me. Okay, if Glalie was faster than us, then for sure Salamence will be. Maybe Flygon as well. Only one way to find out. Shelgon is perfect to set up on. It's going to go for Rock Tomb to drop our speed. We set up Sharpen 3 times, and then we one-shot it. We outspeed Altaria, but not Flygon. It only sets up Sandstorm, but the second one breaks our sub with Flamethrower, so we're exposed and get hit by Intimidate by Salamence. It outspeeds Go for Crunch, we set up Substitute, it goes for Dragon Claw, breaks it, but Return does enough damage to take it out. With only +2 to attack, I'm kinda surprised by that. Substitute was the lifesaver there, but in a completely different and actual non-exploitable way. Well, next up is Steven Stone, and once again, we're gonna be battling his Skarmory with Return. Can't wait. Turn 1, Sub, Spikes. Turn 2, Sharpen, Steel Wing Miss. Sub absorbs Toxic, tank Steel Wing. We go for Return, tank Toxic from Sub, and down goes Skarmory. Hidden Power does over half to our Maldo. Ancient Power procs, and that's going to be a reset, because it'll be faster then and take us out for sure. If not that, then a Pokemon later on. As we set up against Skarmory, it only hits us with Steel Wing a single time as it sets up Spikes and fails at Toxic. A critical Steel Wing breaks our Substitute, and Skarmory gets the defense buff. I decided to take a serious risk, no longer setting up Substitute, but it keeps on attacking. No Toxic this time, that's very rare. I wish Skarmory was less aggressive with Toxic and other runs. Hidden Power Ground one-shots our Maldo. Return definitely one-shots Claydol. Aggron is double weak to ground, so yeah. Next is Cradilly, also a one-shot with Hidden Power Ground. Last is Metagross, we're faster, easy one-shot. Now, we leveled up at the very end. For those of you who are new, just know that we have leveled up off the final Pokemon, in this case Metagross. I don't count it, so Porygon finishes by my rules at level 73. And the reason for that is because that final level up has no bearing on the challenge. So as we enter the Hall of Fame, Porygon finishes at level 73 by our rules. What about that time? Did we sub 6 hours? Ah, man, 6 hours exactly. You know, I'll take it. That's pretty awesome. And turns out that Porygon and Kecleon are pretty much in the same boat. 6 hours even is a B tier finish. 73 is on the lower cusp of C. Porygon pretty much breezed through the game, except for Norman and Glacia, really. I did some thinking about it, and Porygon I think also belongs in the B tier. While it was about an hour slower than Porygon, it was 6 levels lower. Nidoking versus Nidoqueen is next. See ya there.